So thank you everyone for coming and being willing to share your stories with us. We appreciate it. I'm just going to ask a couple questions and we'll go from there. So how do you feel your work fits in with our mission as a whole here at Lakeside, and what your role is and what you do here?
I'll go. I'm Megan Chandler. I work in the daycare. This is my 11th year here. The idea of empowering, when you read the mission statement, I feel like that's my role here, is to empower all of the moms that I come in contact with, that they are capable of being good moms. No matter what society says, no matter what their family says, no matter even how they feel about it themselves, that I can show them, and in a sense, while I work with them in daycare, prove to them that they are doing a good job and how they're doing it, like basically showing them daily how they're actually doing a good job at being a mom and how that looks.
So you've been here 11 years. How have you seen changes in the moms in the daycare, in our students, or do you see the changes throughout their time with us? Can you talk about that a little bit?
I guess over the years, I've become more aware of what they are going through as moms, as people, kind of thing. When I first started, it was kind of just take care of babies and smile at moms and go about my day. And now it's really understanding the why behind some of the things that we see with the babies and some of the things that we see with the moms, and just to kind of encourage them really on a daily basis, but to also be real with them. I let them know that I was a teen mom. I remind them that it was a long time ago and things are changing and things are different, but that I get a perspective of it. And depending on the moms, like sometimes I will share with them now that I am now a single mom because my husband passed. So I don't share a lot of my personal life, but I give them an understanding that I know what it's like to want to go out on a weekend and not have a babysitter. And I understand, those aspects of it, and to try to just be real with them.
Empathy.
Yeah. And trying to connect, just trying to reach out and connect to them in any way that I can. Some of them are tough. Some of them are tough. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I think so I'm Julie. I'm the student support specialist here. So I work with the teen moms as well, and I run a parenting group. So I definitely, I'm a part of that and seeing their growth as parents and just how much they're willing to learn and grow and do better for themselves and do better for their babies. Some of them don't have that support system at home from their own parents and things. So, as here, we're a family. We provide that support and we become their family. So a lot of it is that relatability piece, the building relationships. And that's huge for me and why I'm here and a lot of what we do.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Like where did you come from? Like where did you work before, and what drew you to working here?
So my background is in social work. I worked at Children Youth for years. I loved what I did with the families. It was a very difficult job. I was the first person coming out to investigate abuse and neglect. It burns you out, and it's difficult being up against the system. So a lot of why I went back to school to get my master's in school counseling. So I wanted to be more on the front lines of supporting the families in the education system, and what led me here was being in a trauma-informed school and just that nurturing environment that we all support each other as staff, which allows us to support our students. So.
I think too, just to piggyback off of what Meg and Julia said, I'm Josie, one of the interns here. I think something that we do very often with our students is really promote the idea of self-advocacy, just because unfortunately some of them may not get the life skills that they need at home or that support. So what we do with them is that transitions counseling. And just teaching them basic life skills like how to write out a check, or giving them, education on safe sex and all of that, and consent and what a healthy relationship looks like, so they kind of know and learn those skills. And I think too, I know when I work with my clients or the students and do my counseling sessions with them, I'm very much big into that strengths-based right? So pointing out what they can already do so they know that they do have those abilities and that they continue to do those things, but also gain that confidence to be able to do even more things and become more of an advocate for themselves. So I think we teach that, and it's not just me, it's literally everyone here. And we just teach that really well here, I think, with the students.
I think that's huge too, because society, we often focus on the negative and what's going wrong,
Yeah.
you know, and we kind of spin things into what we need to work on and what we need to do better, rather than focusing on what are we naturally good at and how can we do that better to keep improving on what's going well.
It's so important. Like when you have a student who maybe has just been really struggling and they're coming back from inpatient and they've been here for 3 days in a row, that's amazing because they weren't able to do that before. So just kind of giving them that reminder, or even like, hey, you did really great on this like discussion question I asked you or something like that, really goes a long way and really tries to help them promote that confidence.
As an intern, is there anything that kind of surprised you about the Girls Academy or with working with our students, or that's something you weren't expecting? Or?
I think just the fact that like being in a therapeutic school is just obviously so different from being in a public school, right? Or even like my private school background, and just that this school gives the students the space to kind of feel their feelings, but also we're there to help them process through it. And I think that's really important because you may not necessarily get that in other environments. So just the fact that we give them that space, I think is just really important and something that I wasn't necessarily expecting just because I've never been in this environment before. And I think too, just, you know, the support system of everyone, like Julia had said, just that family kind of dynamic is really important because, you know, these students come from, you know, backgrounds that might be really tough. So for 7 hours out of the day, if we can provide them with that, you know, safe and comfortable environment, I think that goes, you know, a really long way.
Yeah, space is so important. And that is what I have found after years of, and I'm Tony, I'm a social studies teacher here. My background before this was teaching music. I was a band director at Horsham High School for 10 years prior to coming here, with getting a social studies cert in between. But in the public school space, it's like you don't really get that. It's, you know, and again, this isn't a knock on the system as much as just showing how they're not equipped to really handle students with these types of needs. And you didn't have the space to do that. And when I started teaching social studies in Westchester and at Cheltenham School District, and I'm having to be in lockstep with 6 other social studies teachers, and we all start a unit the same day, we all end a unit the same day. We quiz on the same day, test on the same day. And here, the teachers have that space, which allows us to give them the space.
Yeah.
You know, if we're going forward and, you know, we take a little practice quiz, oh my gosh, most of them got all of these wrong. Okay, either I wrote the test poorly, I taught the material poorly, or they just need more time. I can say, well, we don't need to speed through this for the sake of getting to the test on the 17th. You know, we can slow things down. I can say, hey, where did we go wrong? Where did I go wrong? How can I help you understand this stuff better? And that is so important to them because that allows them to feel like, oh, this isn't just my failure. And I connect to that. You know, I didn't become any good at academics until after my time in the Marine Corps. As a young man, I was dealing with my own issues that kept me from being successful, and those were the reasons I hated school. I didn't like going to school. I didn't want to be in school. You know, so knowing that we can take a student who's maybe so down on themselves and holds themselves in such with low self-esteem, and they think of themselves as unable because of what they've learned about themselves in the past, we can help them undo that and start to move forward.
Yeah. It's having the flexibility to meet their needs, which I think is what's really incredible.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I went into alternative education is realizing with that larger classroom that would be more structured, I would not be able to meet the needs of those 4 or 5 or 6 students to possibly identify what they need and modify whatever I needed to modify to help them understand their gifts, their skills, what they were good at. So that's one of the reasons I kind of transitioned into, chose alternative ed. My name is Charleste, and I'm Charleste Moorsweet. I'm the science teacher here. at Lakeside Girls Academy. And I was previously in sales and marketing, and I was the trainer for the sales reps, the trainer for the distributors for the scientific products for the company I worked for.
So you came from the corporate world, like a large company in the corporate world.
Yes, I came from a large company in the corporate world, and I live in an area where I saw a need that I thought that there's something that I can do possibly here to make a difference, maybe, and have an environment where I was capable of accessing the tools to meet the needs. And that's how I found out about the Girls Academy at a picnic where a student had their little girl, and they were doing homework at the Norristown Zoo, the park. And then they told me that, well, they work for a school that they can, do their work at home, and people come out. And I was like, what place is this? Give me that info. And and that was about almost 18 years ago when I started here. I think so much of what everyone said I wanted to chime in on, but empowering the students, because it's so important to empower them and to understand that when they come in, I have to, because I can get a little enthusiastic sometimes, and to meet them where they are for a moment in time. Meet them where they are for a moment in time and help them understand that they do have something to give. They do have something to offer. And sometimes it takes another student and myself in that classroom to bring them along those first 3 days that you talk about are very important. Yeah. Very important to establish an environment that when that student comes in, this is a kind place. This is a place where they will be cared for. This is a respectful environment here. And this is a place where I will do my best to get you to the point where you can feel comfortable and understand. It's a lot to say in a mouthful, but I do, because I saw it happen just recently with a student who came, and I shared at our staff meeting the other day that this student is speaking up, offering answers, offering input. We're into fingerprints, and they just have been talking for 2 days straight now, and they were so quiet when they got here a couple months ago. So I'm inspired by when I see a change in student. I'm inspired to get here another day when, I can walk out of a counselor's office and say, hey, guess who came to me today and, shared this or said something. So, and just maintaining the expectation is so important too. And
right, it's like nurturing, but also setting expectations and working to, again, hold them accountable, which a lot of them don't get. It's like, because we know you can do it. It's like that kind of.
And it's almost like, and once I see that they're possibly capable, no, they don't feel like they really have convinced themselves that they can't.
Right.
But I see it. I see that, and I try my best to take the time. And I know our other teachers do too. And like, okay, you've got this. I'm gonna walk away and come back, walk away, come back. And then lo and behold, they get a couple answers right, and they begin to build that confidence. And I think all of that comes after we have established that environment of respect, of kindness, and of team building. I try in my classroom, one of my big things is teamwork and working as a unit together. Because when a student can get to the point where they feel empowered enough to teach another student, that's what I'm looking for. That's what, when they get to the point where they can share their knowledge and use it to explain that, and I can go over there and help this person, I say, yeah, it's going to be a good class. gifts.
Well, Charlotte, you brought it up earlier. They're gifts, right? You start
Yeah.
looking for their gifts. They have them, and so many of them, it's tragic, but they don't know it. This is my 3rd year, and I still recall just being so heartbroken so many times, like, oh, I'm here at Lakeside because I'm dumb, and those types of comments, and it just, oh my gosh, like, again, I've been teaching in some subject, in some way, shape, or form for over 20 years, and some of the very brightest I've ever taught are here in this building, right? Like, compared to any of these other high schools that I've been, some of the very smartest are here. And it's tragic that they don't understand that. So, but I think that's what we all do really well here is we work together to help them see that. Yeah. And like you said, the first time they start teaching someone else and you see that little glimmer in their eye, and then you hear kids go from, I hate school, I don't want to be here, to Tony, how did you become a teacher? I'm curious about that. And you hear them talk about things like, and I try not to get too excited. Oh, you want to go into an education program? Okay, let's talk. Westchester, go Rams. Right?
Excuse me, Temple.
They still have that? I thought
Yes,
they turned that
Tony.
into a
Don't
Home
make me do the
Depot.
fight
Tony.
song.
Yes.
No, that's awesome.
So as the longest member here, Charlotte, you've seen the program kind of switch from an all pregnancy and parenting program. It was more of a tutoring center in the old location till you've been through the move. And now we've kind of, become an emotional support as well as the pregnancy and parenting support. And kind of you've been here off and on too, so you've kind of remembered the whole building too. So the students have kind of referred to you as the grandmother of the program.
I don't think it's an age thing. It's more of the nurturing side. I can be gray today, but you never know what you're going to get tomorrow. But
the fact that they look to you as a grandmother,
yeah.
a very important person in the lives.
Yeah.
Very maternal.
Right.
they so watch what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Every staff member, they watch what we do. And I try to be very conscious of what I do and say. And to the degree that I remember, we have students go to the board and teach. And I'm looking up at that student. I said, I'll be doggone. They have a style of their own. However, they're explaining it in a manner in which I would. And they're doing redirections kind of in a manner that I would, but with their twist. We're not cursing. With their own twist. So,
what's going on in Charlotte's science class?
So when I realized that, they watch what you do. Mm-hmm. They repeat what you do. Mm-hmm. And we have to be our best at modeling the behavior we expect from our students. So most of the time, Tony, I do, right? Most of the time, I do. But as a grandmother, they come with so many different needs.
Yeah.
So many different needs.
And they just want to be loved and seen and heard.
Yeah,
Cared
be it,
for.
I've got edge control kit in my classroom. I had to make up this year. Students want to cook. They really enjoy
It's Grandma's
cooking.
kitchen.
There you go.
I have my forensic students in my science and film cooking / cooking class. I have chemistry students in there. And you're able to connect with the students in a different way. Mm-hmm. And you're able to teach different life skills. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about transferable life skills that we, the academic piece is what I have, but I realize I can get this academic piece if I can teach them how to be patient, how to build their confidence step by step, how to work together and get respect happening. And once I've established that, I can teach. But grandmom, I guess so. I don't know. I think a lot about my mom and what my mom did for me and her mom did for her. And I'm pretty close to my cousins. So I had a good life,
I think that might be the highest compliment they could probably give you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially because it's said with love.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, she's like a grandma,
she's like-
you know, like it's not a nag. It's
Yeah.
somebody that's positive, and they look at it, especially with the girls that we have over the years. They don't have generationally, they don't have that support,
Yeah.
and to look at a position in a positive light that they may not have in their own lives is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think teens too have a really special power of sniffing out someone who's disingenuous. So like, I learned that a lot this year, just like being an intern and working with teens, is that's just like a really special power that they have. And I think that that goes a long way because you want to present your best self to them and also be that role model for them. So.
Well, I just thank, my peers, my colleagues, because they're the people that allow me to do that, that help support me and make that easier to do. How about that? Yeah, they make that easier to do. We have our powwows and our daily teacher debriefings and check in with counselors, and all of that is possible because I continue to try and get feedback from everyone. Is this what's happening in your group? Hey, listen, counselor, what is going on with this situation here? And being able to freely, comfortably talk with the people that I work with helps me, all of us, do what we can and need to do, what we believe we need to do for our students. Yeah.
Right, because we all have the same goal. We want the
Yeah.
students to succeed, no matter what our role is.
Yeah.
But Tony, I did want to ask you specifically. You were the first male to work here in quite a long time.
Sure.
What made you decide to join this team of all females and all
yes.
female students? And
Yes,
were you scared?
it was, no, honestly, it was such a big transition in general, going from, being a band director to going into the classroom to teach social studies. And the reason behind that was, I was a kid without any academic success to speak of. All of mine was through music, which is why I did that for so long. But then I thought, I could really help students in some other way academically, which is really the more important piece. And then when Patty called me one fine day out of the blue, I had already had a couple of other offers. But I don't know. It's one of those things that I just said, well, I guess I'll go check it out. I've never heard of this. I taught right up the road for 10 years and didn't even know this was here. That was the most bizarre I think I just wanted proof. Is there really a school back there? So I met with Patty and eventually met with Joy and eventually got Garnet's approval. And, my first day here, it was a little bit scary. Mostly because I just had this, I knew what the mission was. You had all prepared me for this. But just, are the students going to accept me? And obviously I don't mean in a personal way. I just mean they're going to a girls' academy, knowing, again, no details, but in general, what a lot of our students have been through. Is this going to take them out of that comfortable space? Am I invading their safe space somehow? And that almost kept me from, I almost called you back one day and said, I can't do that to those students. Because again, not personally, but just my presence might disrupt what they have going on there. And I had watched, the YouTube videos of graduation and listened to the speeches and things like that before I came here. And I thought, oh man, is this, it seems very special what they have there. And I don't want to be the thing that breaks that up or somehow ruins it. But they, all of you certainly, set my mind at ease for that. I think the comfort with which I was brought on board, and then even early on in the process, I learned quickly certainly from Charleste and from Cora, who was here at the time, is, and to Josie's point, they can sniff out phonies. So I just knew right away, don't BS them. Don't come in here and try to be something you're not. And I was open. I was honest. I asked them that question. I said, is this uncomfortable for you? Is this, and some of them, bless them, they were very honest. And they said, yeah, it is a little strange, but I think I'll be okay. But I found really within a couple days, it felt like they were very accepting. And most of my fears were put to rest right away. I felt very at home here. The staff, the students made me feel welcome. They made me feel accepted. And since then, I think I've been doing as much learning as I have been teaching, certainly. Because, and it's interesting. We're in my U.S. History 2 class. We're talking about the Holocaust right now. And so much of that, it's a very heavy subject. It's not easy to confront. And we talk about how when we're talking about those difficult conversations, or like the slave trade and things like that, is it's not about guilt. It's not about anyone feeling like they've done something wrong from here centuries later. It's or decades later. It's about connecting with and understanding someone else's experience. That's, I mean, as a history teacher, that's the point. Okay, again, they don't need me for the dates and you know, all that. They can Google that if they're interested. But it's more like learning about why that stuff matters, what happened, why did it happen, and what has happened as a result of it. And to see them growing in that understanding is really helpful for me. But along the way, learning their perspectives about it as young women of just these extraordinary backgrounds with such extraordinary experience. There is so much experience packed into some of those young minds and bodies. Things that I can never fully understand or, you know, I won't be able to necessarily sympathize, but I can certainly empathize. And, you know, as I'm an old dad, I have a 5-year-old. And, you know, these are things that I want him to learn. These are perspectives. Obviously, he'll learn them from his mother and his aunt and his grandmother, but I want him to learn some of those things from his father, too. And so that's something very valuable that I also get out of this experience. But, yeah, so being the first full-time male here in some time, it really was. That first year was crazy also because, remember, we were all masked. All of our all of our seats were at a distance on the dots.
It was distance learning.
The glass shield around my desk. And my very least favorite thing is teaching from behind the desk, but it was sort of needed at the time. And then, but it was like I got to experience it all over again, though, building those relationships and trust as we came out of that, and as the masks came off and the glass shields went away, and we could be more close to each other. And you know, and since then, it continues to be. It's weird. First of all, they're all confused about my age, which I take as a compliment. You know, last year when they thought I was the same age as our 22-year-old teacher, which I was like, oh my gosh, how
a tough problem to have.
Did that happen?
Tough problem.
So I've been described by all of them as everything from a father to an annoying little brother, and I'm like, okay, I guess I can thank you. You know, but it really is fun, and the connections that we've built there are great, and I think. For them learning to interact with men is obviously very key, and some of them have every reason in the world to hate the men that they come across, and or to not hate, but to not trust maybe, and to be hesitant to warm up to, and you know, for them, that's my biggest hope, is that they can see that. Hopefully, I can be an example to them. For those, some of them are raising young men now, you know. And that's an extraordinary thing that they do while being a student. You know, that I really can't get over that sometimes. Like I have a loving partner at home and one child, and it's still hard. So to see what they're doing, some of these young moms, it's really incredible and very impressive.
Well, Tony, I know at breakfast time, your class is one of the most comfortable, places to be. And he put up a sign that said, these are my guidelines. This is, you know, we're going to respect each other. No, none of these conversations. I look in the week later, and they're all still there. But with the new expectation and attempting to follow the new expectation. And I think Tony's presence here is helping some of the girls who are struggling with, you know, a male and presence in their life. Him doing so well what he does helps break this neurologic connection between a male and those experiences. And now here's where the student is building trust and understanding and learning from.
You see that not all men are bad. They
Right.
can be
So
loving husbands and fathers. And, you know, take care of their families.
Rewiring that connection. We had a student. I know, Tony, you're tired of hearing the story, but I'm gonna say it again.
No, it's all right.
So we had a student who would not go to anybody's, not grandma's class, not anyone's class, for almost 6 weeks, 2 months.
Probably
This student sat in the hallway, but they kept coming to school. So there's something going on there. So they kept coming to school and would sit in the counselor's hallway. And then one day, somebody said, they went to Tony's class. Then somebody said, they went to 2 of Tony's classes today. So there was about a 3-week period where Tony's 2 classes were the only ones they went to. And they participated, and Tony would come to them, oh yeah, they taught, good, really bright student. We were all like, what are you doing? What do you got? So Tony's got something there that he's trusting, and he's able to build connections with the students too. And yeah,
And safety.
yeah, safety. Yeah, and this is very, very quiet student. Yeah, today she sets up a lot of my labs now. Yeah, and she's thriving, doing very well. That particular student.
It's kind of like exposure therapy
It is.
in a way,
It
like
is.
you know, just exposing them
One-
to like
one at a time.
really strong male
One
role
at a time.
model. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I think, and we've come a long way because I think LG as a program is moving forward to attempt to meet the needs that exist today with our young people.
Right.
And
Yeah, because when we started doing this, there wasn't any technology. There was, just
yeah,
things
I
like that
think
that
we're
have
we're
changed
trying
so
to morph and change and modify to meet the needs that they have while maintaining the expectation of academic excellence, and working with the parents. This school's percent participation for the parent, I don't know what the number is, Patty, but I get to speak to a lot of the parents and being able to connect with them with me, and then hearing about the changes that they're seeing at home is very encouraging for me as a teacher. When the parents come and say, well, you know.
I think that's why they stay so long at our parent-teacher conference. Because this might be the only parent-teacher conference where they hear positive feedback.
Oh,
about
okay.
their child.
No, very true.
And they just,
Yeah, so.
Our parent-teacher conferences are famous for going long.
That might be the strangest thing about the transition
Yeah.
from public ed to this. You're so used to just taking bombs when you go into a parent meeting and all the things you did wrong.
Yeah.
And then here, most of them are like, oh, my daughter loves you so much. She loves all her teachers, and this is so good. Oh, okay. This is nice.
Must
And then-
be doing something right.
Yeah.
Then you have the ultimate compliment when working in the daycare, we have the work study students. So not only are we working with the moms, but they're getting skills with their own babies, but a career idea of, what they could do in early education. And in the 10 years that I've been here, I do know of 2 students, one who went on to get her bachelor's degree in early education, and one who just reached out to me a few months ago and said, can you write a recommendation? I just got a job in a daycare. And I was just like, yeah, definitely, and being able to see, because both of them said, the way that you worked with kids helped me to see that I can do that, like that's possible, and it's an ability to do. And I was like, yeah, and both of them were interesting students. Like one was just super shy that I would have said she never would have been in like a teaching role, let alone she just was very, very quiet. And the other one was just, she's just a quiet mom, and just, it's really neat to get those phone calls or, text messages and just being like, oh, by the way, this is what I'm doing. And I appreciate what you showed me, what that role could look like.
But I think that's what you each bring to the table. Like you all bring your own experience with you, and you make yourself vulnerable as well. I mean, not in a bad way, like
Right.
oversharing.
Right.
But I mean, like you bring your experience as a teen mom, and with your husband, the loss of your husband. You bring your experience of when you lost your husband, you're a single mom, and you brought your experience, and you bring your experience as a mom, and even Josie brings her experience. But and make yourself vulnerable to our kids, and then they can see, what you are capable of doing. Like, look at where, I probably would have been a Lakeside kid as a teenager, and it's like, and I started as an intern at Lakeside. So, I'm like, oh yeah, I was an intern. Colleen was an intern, and how, if you have a dream or a goal, like just go for it, and you'll, you can be successful. And you guys all model that in a safe way, I think, which is excellent. And then we come to this time of the year where the end of the year tends to go like a speeding jet, and everybody is kind of a little bit, whew. So how do you guys what makes you keep coming in every day, and how do you get that energy? Where do you get it from, and how do you keep that energy level up when it's difficult at times?
Seeing students succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, not just that, seeing students' joy in their success. Seeing
yeah.
students'
Oh, yeah.
confidence build in their achievements. When they see it, they feel it, they experience it. I say, okay, I can do another day, you know?
Like high honor roll. when they
Yeah.
Give those certificates out, or student
And so,
bond,
I don't know
or
how
when their
many
baby
times.
starts walking.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just, yeah.
Towards a
Yeah.
teacher they were struggling with,
Yes.
you know? I forgot my
Or
other
student
thought.
spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how many students have said, in my old other school, I would have never done this. I would have never thought I could do this. Yeah.
That's a daily conversation.
Yeah.
It really is. They say it so many times, and for me that is the thing. Again, I've never bailed on a professional responsibility, but I'll be honest, there were places I've worked where like Sunday around 3, I hated it because I knew I have to go back there tomorrow, and I hated feeling that way. I really did. And it wasn't nothing against the students. It was kind of the totality of everything in that job, and I can honestly say I've never once felt that here. I've never woken up and said, I have to go there. It's, I mean, yes, we have our hard days, we have our stressful days, but it's never, ever amounted to, I just wish I didn't have to go. In fact, if anything, and Mark and I, my supervisor, we were talking last week about it, and I was saying, like, you know, I actually get a little sad at the long breaks. You know, it's like,
I
because
know.
I don't get to see my students
Yeah.
or my coworkers, you know, I do, it sounds corny, and I swear I'm being honest, but like, I
No,
really
I
do
get
miss it when we're not together for a while.
I know, and they don't believe us when we tell them,
No.
like,
Yeah,
no,
they don't.
I missed you.
Yeah.
I tell them.
did.
I do
did
tell
too.
them.
Yeah.
I
I'm like,
do.
I miss your smile
Come
every
Thursday,
day.
I'm hoping they're all doing the right thing, you know?
Make good
Gosh,
choices.
making
Yeah.
good choices, and they all come back, and it is good to see
I'll
them.
say it again, it's a family.
Yeah,
It really
Absolutely.
is a family, and that's what keeps bringing me back each day.
Yeah.
I mean, even thinking about, you know, when we have our meetings to kind of discuss things, you know, we end on the positives because
Yeah.
there's always
There's
positives
always
to
positives.
find.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just, it's beautiful.
And it's just a good reminder of like why, you know, this is why we do what we do. I mean, let's face it, we can all be working a lot of different places, but
Yeah.
it's just not the same, like it is. You'd be giving up a family.
Yeah.
That would be difficult.
Yeah, when
I'm
a
grateful.
student mom can't wait to come in and, Meg, you've got to see what my baby did this weekend. And I'm like, okay, do I want to see? Like, what did they do? You know, and then it's like they took their first step, and we have the one of our little guys who's just started walking. I missed his first steps in daycare, but mom was in, so mom got him, and I was busy doing something else, and she's like, Miss Meg, you missed it. And I was like, well, then he has to do it again, you know? But like, it felt so
Or
good
the
that,
videotapes.
yes,
Oh, look,
she wanted me to see that her son had achieved this. And I felt honored that I got to be the teacher that she, you know, wanted to show what her baby could do, you know?
It was a big deal to her
Yes.
to show
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Because that's how much you mean to
Yes,
them.
and it's so neat to see all that, even when they're, you know, they're rolling over or they're trying their first foods, and I mean, I get the fun part of
Yeah.
working here, you know.
I
We
know,
always-
babies and
I get
dogs
baby
never have a bad
therapy.
day.
Nobody wants to come in when they're all screaming. I don't know why. I haven't had people volunteer to change diapers yet, but you know, that also
really
comes
is
with it.
They take
one
so
of
much
the amazing
pride.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just for now, 3 years later, see the baby that was being brought in the little
Oh my
basket now
goodness.
running past my
Yeah.
door.
Yes.
Running up and
Oh my
down.
gosh, how much time has passed?
Yes.
Yeah, getting out of the car in the morning, and it was kind of chilly outside, and I hear somebody calling my name, Charlotte.
Lolest.
Charlotte Lillette.
Yep.
Lillette.
Lolest.
Who's that calling my name? And there's
Yeah, there
the
he is.
Little
I
guy.
can't say his
Little
name.
guy.
There's that little
There
guy
he is.
running up to me in the parking lot
Yep.
with his mom.
Yep.
And he saw me before I saw him. So,
Yep.
yeah, watching them grow. And,
That's fun.
Oh, his mom
good.
told me he wanted to wear khaki colored pants the other day. It says, just like Tony. I was like, oh my God, are you serious? She could not wait to come and tell me. He wanted the Lowe's pants when we were at Target or whatever. Because he wanted to get Tony the Tony
See,
pants.
Tony, I
was like,
told
oh my
you.
God.
They watching us.
crazy.
So
cute.
This year I have one of the largest classes. This is my
Yes, you
forensics
do.
class. Chem is pretty big, and this year is I have such a good group
It really
of
is.
kids.
It's
I
a group of
mean,
kids.
yeah. We kind of shudder sometimes when we reach that number 12. Oh, Patty. But this group, they are phenomenal group of forensic students. They've learned how to work well together, tolerate, accept, and thrive. They're really, so I'm gonna miss that group. I don't know how we did it, Tony, but you know what group I'm talking about. But it's great, and my goal now personally is get another. If I get 12 like that, 12 students.
We're
My
going to be
target.
getting 12 students.
Yeah, I know. But
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
so I mean, they do everything. The labs, they partner up. They'll do so. They're doing very well. So even with a large group here.
It is a good group this year. We have a pretty large group of seniors as well. So graduation's going to be really, I'm looking forward to that. I always look forward to graduation. But that is my favorite thing to see, like when they, come and get me to pull me into Charlotte's class to see what they made. Or when they come and tell me what their kids are doing, so stop in the daycare. Or, just those times, or their presentations. Because I don't get the daily interaction that you guys get with them, which I kind of miss that from being a counselor. So I try to be as present as possible, but so I can see the difference in them. I think maybe more than you guys do, because you see them every day.
Right.
So where I can be like, wow, that was huge for that student, like whatever the accomplishment is, or just being able to stay in the class for the whole period, or something like that, or just being able to come and get me and show me what they're proud of, like that. The history museum that we did I think was that last year?
2
Living
years.
history.
Yep.
That, like just
The
those
living
types of
history,
things
yeah.
where they just show you what they did and they're excited about it. And I just love being I just fawn all over it, but it's great because
That was
I get to see the changes that you might miss, on a daily basis, especially with the moms, because you're dealing with that day in and day out.
and to be able to work with people that the African American Living History
Yes.
Women's Month Museum that we did, with students who came here, sat down. It might have been first years here. I'm not going to say anything in front of anybody. I'm not going to speak. And to look around with the students who wouldn't say anything, they had their little brain break, they had their poster, their presentation,
Yeah.
and they spoke to people who
They did great,
everybody
yeah.
who walked around. So,
And the fun activities, like field day and the trips. It is fun. Like that's when you get to do the family stuff.
I think something too that's exciting is when we're working with students, maybe in like a counseling session, and they come to you later on and say, "Hey, Josie, I was actually able to implement, those coping skills that we talked about, like in class. I was able to regulate." So for me, that's definitely something. Or like Josie, I was able to challenge that like negative thought and turn it into like a positive self-talk. So that's something too that I see just as an intern in my own experience and my own successes that I see with my own students, and that's always great when it's like, see, you did it. Like you don't have to stay within this negative bubble because you have that ability to talk kindly to yourself.
It's pretty cool.
yeah, we're here even when they don't feel the confidence, the strength, the confidence that they don't have the strength at that time. We're here to help them, establish it, to get it back.
I think we're also one of the possibly the first groups of adults that many of our students come in contact with who admit when we're wrong.
Right, and we can ask for forgiveness.
That
Yeah.
I think for me the biggest, and I get chills from it, was one of the students who I just went back and I said, I am so sorry, because it was, I didn't think anything of the situation. And, a counselor coming to me and saying, hey, they thought this. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's not what it was, like in my opinion, but they felt that, and they felt that to their core. And to be able to go to especially a young mom and say, hey, it was brought to my attention that that's how you felt, and I am 100% sorry. That was not my intention, and I'm sorry I made you feel that way. Right. And did I get the, oh yes, everything's, no, that student looked at me like, whatever. But to realize later that I was possibly one of the first adults in any of these kids' lives who said, you know what? I screwed up. Yeah. Like I made you feel bad. And yes, I can say, to kind of, give myself a little credit, say I didn't mean that, but to also just be like, I'm sorry. Like, that wasn't my intention. I'm sorry you felt that way. I'm going to do better. I want to do better. And, to be able to say that. And I think a lot of our students don't see that on a regular, some do. And not that it's everybody has a horrible woe is me past or anything, but just in general, like how many of us have adults in our lives who can honestly say, hey, I'm sorry about that. Like I hurt your feelings, or you have feelings and I acknowledge your feelings. We're even, men, women, we're told like, it's really not that big a deal. Oh, get over it. Oh, you're fine. Oh, it's nothing, but to realize that each one of these students have something going on. Whatever it is, it's big to them. Right, it doesn't have to be big to me. It's big to them, and I value them. And I value my relationship with them. To be able to go, repairing. To go to a teen mom and say that it's really neat. To be able to kind of go like, wow, like I value my relationship with you in this, in the daycare classroom, more so than I want to be right in a situation or want it to be like, well, that's not what I mean. And you just have to deal with it. Right. No, that genuinely hurt that person's feelings. And, I felt bad. I felt horrible because I was like, that's never my personal intention, but. Yeah.
It's true. And even sometimes if I don't know whether or not, if I had said something, a direction or something and my tone, I said, if I recognize it, I'll say, hey, can I try that again?
Exactly.
I mean, I do that, more than I'd like to admit. Sometimes, can I try to take two? But the interesting thing is when they those same students, when they walk into the class the next day and they're having a rough day and they say something, I get it back. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Charles. Let me try that.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, there we go. Okay. I was like, you try.
Modeling. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that is very much the trauma-informed approach of just Lakeside in general. That's what I see too. Yeah.
For sure.
And the relationship building part is very, very important.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all of you guys for what you do with our students every day and how you build those relationships and how you encourage our students and you're just there for them. And I think it means a lot more than you may realize, but it sounds like you do kind of realize it. But it really does. It does. Yeah.
I'm grateful we're here.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that this program is available, and even though I've been here this long, I will say over the next 5-10 years, I don't know, Patty, you want to make it even better than it was when you got here.
All the time.
That's what we want in our lives. I think anyway.
And the support we give each other.
Oh yeah.
I think that makes it worth coming to work every day and dealing with whatever it is. Especially our science teacher who, when I had to come in and tell everybody that I was surprised pregnant after there's a 21-year age gap between my oldest and youngest, and yes, I am going to tell the story. She brought me into her science room and showed me the anatomy book to make sure I knew exactly how it happened. Because, she's like, you work in daycare. I just want to make sure you understand the process of how this happened. Yes, Ms. Charlotte. Yes.
And we have the whole flip chart on birthday.
Yes.
Could I borrow?
Yeah, you might want to see that book. But yeah, I mean, even, the support and support just in the fun and in the hard times that we've all gone through to be able to kind of just be like, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to,
This little boy just made goalie, the position.
Oh, yes, my
Okay,
son,
can I
yes.
just add
I was like,
that?
who?
He is
Who in
now-
daycare is a goalie?
He is now.
Yes. Yep, he is now a goalie.
Goalie in ice hockey. Yep.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to leave.
Yeah.
In a few
We don't
weeks.
want you to leave.
Yeah,
it's gonna be-
don't start talking
I
about
know.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard to leave in a few
No.
weeks.
Well, we're trying to keep her in the Lakeside organization.
There we
She
go.
has an interview
Ooh.
with,
That's some
in
good
school.
news.
Yeah.
yes,
excited.
within school counselors. I mean,
Awesome.
unfortunately, we don't have any openings
No,
here,
what-
or we would keep her. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
But we're
Let's
going to keep
just
her in the
have a
Lakeside
fourth
family.
counselor. Let's just
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
build another office.
And it's always a caveat that if we do have an opening, I get to steal her back.
Right,
Right,
right, right. Or you can always say, I think I might want to go back.
Yeah, that's true.
But you can come visit us.
Yeah.
We could always use van drivers.
Yeah.
Oh,
She could
Don't
do
tap that building.
She could do counseling on the van runs.
Yeah, right in the vans.
instead of,
Yeah.
what is that?
I'll do mobile.
Yeah,
Oh,
that'd
thank goodness.
be mobile therapy. There you go. We'll have a whole new
instead of
program.
cash cab, she'll have mobile
Yeah, there we go.
And that's another part of Lakeside. We have so many different programs here
Yeah.
to help meet the overall needs of the
Right.
family, the students. You know, I've been with mobile support now for
I know.
many years. Yeah.
I've worked with them too a little bit.
And students that have left here, I'm working, you know, I
Yeah.
work with and, yeah.
Yeah, we are lucky that we have the school,
Oh,
we have
yeah.
the Vantage Academies, we have mobile support, that we can all kind of work together. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
And break.
And break.